And a very good Friday morning. Tim Radford with you here on WKRK 105.5 FM, 1320 AM, cable TV channel 25, and worldwide at country.am. And on this time on Fridays, we have guest Sheriff Derek Palmer in the studio with us.
Good morning.
Good morning. We also have another guest, too, but he
hid in the corner.
Way over there, away from the microphones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried to get him to talk on radio. It's Mark Patterson, jail captain. I tried to get him to talk on radio this morning, and he said no. He just sat over in the corner.
See, that's the one good thing. If he doesn't want to talk on the radio, we can talk about him on the radio.
Go. He'll eventually come over here and defend himself.
I told him there's a second microphone, even one right there, too, if he really wanted that. But
no, Captain Patterson and myself are leaving right after the show to go over to Franklin to a detention center graduation, or detention officer graduation. And we got some folks graduating over there. And a little opportunity to recruit while we're there and kind of thing. So we're going to go over there and attend that, and hopefully we'll get us some good detention officers out of that.
Very good. Well, welcome to a Friday, and glad to have you back. And you've had a pretty busy week, I understand.
Yeah, it's been a busy week. Of course, about every week's busy now these days.
There's a song that we play, something about just wish there's no bad news today.
Right.
After posting news stories all week long. I just wish there's a one day where it's a slow. People make fun. Oh, is it a slow news day on the radio or something?
I would love to be able to do like Andy Griffith and just turn everybody out of jail and say be back on Monday and have a good weekend.
That would be so nice.
Yeah, I'd love to be able to do that.
Here's the keys to your cell.
Unfortunately, probably about half or more wouldn't show back up.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
So we can't do that. But no, it's been a good week. We're just like I say, it's just normal business at the sheriff's office. We're just going right along. And I did have an epiphany this week and finally broke down and went to the doctor. And my wife kept on and on till I go. You know, I'm in my mid-40s now, and it's time for some of those checkups that you dread all your life to have to go do. And
middle age, I researched and found that middle age starts at 45. How old are you now?
45.
Welcome to middle age.
There you go.
Sheriff.
There you go. No, we everything so far checked out good. They did some blood work and different things, but trying to get me going there. But one thing, my blood pressure had been a little bit high, as you can imagine, from the stress and all those type of things that you have to do as sheriff. But started some blood pressure medicine and for that, and trying to keep it at a manageable level. And it wasn't extremely high, but it was something to just keep concerned about, And
got to keep your eye on it.
Just got to keep your eye on it. But right after that, my wife came home and brought me some reading glasses that she had bought at Walmart and that I'd refused to wear, and but I wore them, and I realized that I am blind. I do need glasses. so it's just one of those things. Just I guess I'm growing up. This might be a good way of putting it.
Growing up.
Yeah, I'm growing up. Yeah.
Welcome middle age.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's see what we have going on today. There's we've shared tons of news this week, and I like to be able to get here on the radio, and because there's a lot of folks that listen to us that may not have Facebook or internet access, so we can kind of talk, plus we can elaborate and just add the personal touch to some of these things too. And I know there's a lot of things you can't say because things are still under investigation. One of the news stories is about a man living in Martins Creek, the name of Jackie Slaughter.
Right.
And can you tell us about that? I know you served a warrant.
Yeah, there's not much about that there is really to tell on our end. We had an incident here a couple weeks ago where Mr. Slaughter in the area had an issue where he has owned some other people's property and wound up getting a second-degree trespassing warrant there on that property. He was made bond for that, got out of jail, and was here still in our county, where we received information that Graham County had a first-degree kidnapping warrant on him in Graham County. So we basically just served the warrant and picked him up for them. And I know it's made news and it's on TV and all these different things that's going on around. And people's asked me about it, and really there's not a whole lot I can say about it because it's not a Cherokee County case. It's a Graham County case. I know the State Bureau of Investigations is also working with Graham County on what they're investigating over there. And so it would be improper of me to speculate or give information out on somebody else's case. So
I think WLOS said that he was charged, and because of a tasing situation that he had claimed to be tased 15 times, that he got off the charges because of technicality, and because of that, he's now in Transylvania County Detention Center.
Yeah, I do know that he's being housed down there. Like I say, it's a Graham County prisoner, so the sheriff over there has the ability to call other counties and have them held in other counties of their choosing, whoever will accept him. We've had Jackie in our jail before. And so with it just being in a local area and close to Graham County and all that, it was the sheriff of their's decision to have him move somewhere else and housed in a different facility. So I think it's pretty smart on his part, just to kind of get him away from the area and don't have any detention officers or deputies or anybody that might know him or could be accused of doing anything to him improperly. So those folks down in Pennsylvania don't know him. They don't know anything about him. And so, the accusations of them doing something intentionally to him would be a lot slimmer at a place like that.
And for folks who want to go and watch the video, we shared that on our Facebook page a day or two ago. It's from WLOS TV. And you can see Rex Hodge was actually.
I do want to just reiterate for those listening that also happened in Graham County. That was not an incident that happened in Cherokee County. So when you talk about those things of being tased in jail and jailers and all that, just understand that was not Cherokee County. That was a different county.
Right.
Yeah.
and even under a previous administration.
Right.
So it's not under the current Graham County sheriff.
That's
it was
correct.
Previous sheriff when that all happened.
Yeah.
All right. Another thing is you had your office had been looking for Herman Harden.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit about the situation? I understand he's been caught now.
Yeah, he was apprehended at a house there in the Andrews area. I believe that was yesterday or the day before. My days are running together. I can't hold them all straight. But he was apprehended up there. He was a neighbor had called in of spotting him. Officers arrived on scene up there, located him. He had ran into a house and had a weapon with him, and so the officers were in negotiations with him to put the weapon down, and he did. He eventually did, and he was arrested there on scene and brought to the Cherokee County Jail. I do want to say a thanks to the Andrews Police Department, since it was there in the Andrews area. They were able to arrive there quicker than we could get there. And so they were able to help negotiate and help to resolve the situation, and was a tremendous help for us at the Sheriff's Office. So we just want to thank Andrews Police Department for their help in that situation.
All right. What was he being sought for?
There was a 6 or 7 domestic violence type warrants that were there on him. There was, I'm doing all this from memory, so it may not be exact, but there were things such as violations, domestic violence protective order, assault with deadly weapon, those type of things, that the existing warrants were for. And so we're now looking, we're doing an investigation now on additional charges for him for the incident that happened there at the location in Andrews. And so I suspect there will be further charges coming out against him.
All right. In situations like this, you rely pretty heavily on social media. Is that a pretty helpful avenue?
Yeah, it really is. One of the things you always have pros and cons of everything you do, and there are good aspects of social media, there are bad aspects of social media. One of the great things about social media is just getting that information out, getting that picture out, getting there where people can see him. They may not know him personally, but by getting that picture out and on social media and it getting shared so much, that facial recognition kicks in a lot of times when they see someone who looks like him or someone or who looks like the person on social media, and they may call law enforcement and say, hey, I was in Ingalls and saw a guy that looked like this. Not sure whether it's him or not, but but it looks like him, and that gives law enforcement a chance to go out and track the person down and verify whether it is or isn't the person we're looking for. Those are all great things about social media, of getting the community involved and getting them active and being your eyes and ears out there and looking for people. And just like with this incident, it helped in the fact of that a resident there, a neighbor, someone who was not there at the scene, just happened to spot him and see him and say, hey, he's in this area, send somebody up here. So that social media really helps on that aspect. The negative side of social media is that when you post things on there and make it available for comments, then everybody kind of swamps to that and makes their opinions one way or another.
Kind of opens up the floodgates.
It opens up the floodgates for things, and so you have to take the good with the bad.
Right.
And there is an availability, and a few times we have done this, but there is an availability to turn off the comment section, and just post it and not allow people to comment on it. But then you get accused of censorship and all these type of things, and so we have found, unless it's vulgar language or unless it's threatening language or something of that nature, it's better just to go ahead and let them do the comments and make good or bad comments, however they want to do it, and just kind of live with whatever happens.
Right.
But we do block on occasion on the comment section on ours, as I'd imagine you do at WKRK also. If people are using vulgar language or they're making accusations or doing threatening language and things of that nature, a lot of those we'll remove those posts or block those posts where they can't post things like that.
Yeah, we try to keep things pretty family friendly on our page.
Yeah.
People can have very passionate arguments, but as long as they are not using foul language or slandering or libeling anyone, we pretty much allow anything. And so far we haven't had a huge problem.
The only post I think that we have posted the sheriff's office that turned into a firestorm of comments, and most of the comments were not here local, was when we posted "In God We Trust" on our cars.
I remember that.
Put that, and I don't remember now. I'd have to go back and look, but it was in the tens of thousands of comments and shares and all those type of things. But what that did is that sparked a nationwide conversation. When you look at those people who were commenting on that, most of the people that was in the arguments and in the comments were not people from Cherokee County. They were people from all across the United States that were commenting on this. And when you talk about the positives and negatives of social media, that's also could be a positive or could be a negative. Is that not only are you exposing that to your local people here in Cherokee County, but literally around the world, it travels around the world, and people from all over the place can comment on whatever you put on there. So, like I say, we're like you. We try to keep it family friendly. We try to make sure that people are not posting vulgar or threatening things. But literally, when you're having tens of thousands of comments, that's impossible to go through and read every one of those and censor, language and those type of things on those. So sometimes we have those big explosive posts that's hard to manage, but when we are dealing with things here on a local level, we try to monitor that and try to make sure that we're not having people that's being vulgar or being threatening and those type of things on it.
Another story we shared this past week was from WLOS. They did some investigation type reports or special reports, and one thing that startled me was a report that they had done, and this is from Mission Health, reported almost 400 babies born in the last year that are born addicted to drugs.
Right.
That's over one a day.
And that's just in the Mission Health system.
That's
not counting the Erlanger system or the Emory system, which people from our area goes to all three of those different systems, and even at the Knoxville, the UT Chattanooga system,
that was a big eye opener for me.
Right,
400 babies in a year.
Yeah, that's
almost.
just there in the Nashville area, and people who utilize that. It is the drug issue that is going on is not a Cherokee County issue. It is a societal issue. It's a nationwide issue. As a matter of fact, I was just talking this morning with some folks from down in Towns County, Georgia, and they were asking about the heroin in the area and those type of things, and they were expressing that the problems they were seeing down there in Georgia, and a lot of the things we hear from Georgia and from Tennessee and our surrounding counties here in western North Carolina is the same story. Every county that you go to, of the explosion of the drug problem, the heroin epidemic, the things that's going on around here, and as much as we try to fight it in Cherokee County, it's bigger than a Cherokee County problem. I remind people of this, and for those out there listening, just remember and put this in perspective. As Sheriff of Cherokee County, if we were to go in and wipe every drug in Cherokee County out now, just snap our fingers and it's gone, and we took away every needle, every spoon, every piece of paraphernalia, everything out of Cherokee County is completely clean, then it's just a 10-minute drive to Georgia, or over to Graham County or to Macon County or to Tennessee or wherever you need to go. So if we made it completely clean right now, then by dark tonight, it would be right back and it would be infested again. And so, all we can do is keep plugging away and keep trying and keep doing the best we can do on this. But along those drug lines and a lot of those things, as far as the drug addicted babies and the problems we're seeing in society, is that we're trying to utilize a plan, and we're getting community leaders together and having a around the table discussion about these. Is what can we do as community leaders to change that? And the reason I bring that up is that even though the sheriff's position is an elected law enforcement position, this is much bigger than a law enforcement problem. And we cannot continue to keep doing the same things we're doing and expect a different result. That's the clinical definition of insanity, is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So if we realize that we're continuing to do the same things we've always done and the results are not changing, then we need to change the way we're doing things. And one of the things that we're trying to bring community leaders in together and have discussions about and talk about is what changes can we make as a community that would help affect the situation, not just here in Cherokee County, but regionally. What resources are available? What do we need to pull together? How do we need to utilize these things to where we're reaching the public better, to where we can getting that resource out there to the public? And so, I would think that most people would agree with me on this, is that when you come to the user end of it, when you come to these people out here that's overdosing and using user amounts of things, and for a lot of times they are the nuisance. They are the ones that's breaking into houses. They're the ones that are causing problems in the neighborhood. They're the neighbors that all the traffic's coming in and out, and all those kind of things. Most of these people are user level people. And we must acknowledge the fact is that just arresting them and putting them in jail is not making a difference. It's not making a change. And so on these user level people, we've got to figure out, how can we approach this different? How can we do this differently? And that's what we're trying to figure out.
Yeah, that has to be a very big challenge right there.
Right.
How to change the person's life and attitude. Back to the babies that are born addicted to drugs. What happens to the mother? Is she charged with any kind of criminal activity? What happens to the baby at that point if that baby is born addicted to drugs?
Well, there's a couple different things. One is that excuse me, my throat just closed up on me. Part of those side effects you were talking about, blood pressure medicine, right?
Exactly.
As a matter of fact, Tim diagnosed me this morning, so I have to leave my $25 copay out on the table out here.
That's right.
But anyway, going back to the question, there's a couple different involvement there. One is that in North Carolina, if a baby is born addicted to drugs, there is almost always a DSS involvement. Have you got any water?
Yes. I'll be right back. You keep on talking.
I'll get some water. If I can keep talking, I may have to have Mark talk here in a minute. But there is a DSS involvement that occurs here, and that they get involved with the cases as far as trying to figure out if that child has been taken care of or not being taken care of. And so they kind of get involved in that from a DSS level and try to take care of whatever that family situation is. There are occasions where these babies that are born addicted to drugs, where it leads to other drug investigations that occur. So we can take off into several different areas, but the primarily goes into the DSS area, just trying to make sure that child is not in an injurious environment, to where if it does go back home, that it's in a safe place and there's safety plans put together and those type of things.
All right. Let's see. We did talk about what is the biggest drug problem right now in our area. Is it heroin, meth, or something else?
Well, it depends on how you look at it. I would say that as far as a problem, our biggest problem is heroin. And not saying it's the most prevalent, not saying that there's more of it than anything else. I just think it's our biggest problem. And the reason it's our biggest problem is we have more people overdosing on this, getting other people hooked on this, it's now spreading down into lower and lower ages. Most of our people on heroin in Cherokee County that we know about are 20-ish to 30-ish, but we're starting to see those ages drop lower and lower. And I'm afraid that if something doesn't happen, that we're just going to get in our teenage population, and then we will have a real problem at that point. But meth is always prevalent. It's always been prevalent in this area. Pills is a problem that's prevalent in this area. You probably saw the report that came out here a while back from the healthcare system as the amount of pills that there are in population. I think Cherokee County ranks something in the neighborhood of about 100 pills and what it is, let me explain this. It takes the number of pills that's prescribed to Cherokee residents and how many residents they are in Cherokee County, and it breaks that down to pills per person.
Right.
And so it actually broke down into Cherokee County at about 100, a little over 100 pills per person that's being prescribed. In Cherokee County, I think in our area, I think Macon County was the highest. I think it had like 213 or some pills per person for the county. So, when you look at it from that aspect, from that standpoint, pills is a big problem. It's a big problem for our area. But when you look at that, and that's opioids, I think it was 100 opioids per person. So,
and that's per month.
That's per month. So when you look at that and you look at that statistic, then you can start counting off people. Well, I don't get pills. You don't get pills. This person don't get pain pills. This person don't get prescriptions. So that shows you, for the people that are getting pills, that they are way above that. That they're above that average, and so. That's a staggering amount to me.
Is that a situation of them using and abusing, or taking and reselling?
I think it's a combination of both. One thing about the pill use is that your body does build up immunity to that. And I know in my lifetime, from family members and from friends, I've seen the fact of that they may be addicted to it but don't realize they're addicted to it.
Right.
And the only thing they know is they've got an injury, they've got a back problem, a shoulder problem, a leg problem, whatever it may be. And for the user, the only thing they know is that my doctor prescribed me these pills, and I'm using these pills to manage my pain. And when I don't take these pills, I hurt.
Right.
And so a lot of that falls into an addictive state, and it falls into dependence upon those pills. But for the user, a lot of times they don't see themselves as addicted, or they don't see themselves as a user or addicted person. They look at it as my doctor prescribed it to me, and so I need it. And that's kind of the way a lot of people use that. But there are that population also that just abuses it, that goes with those fake injuries and those different things. And not only are they a user, but they get prescribed way more than they use, so they sell those pills to other people that's out there. And I've seen people sell their whole prescriptions, just not necessarily the pills, just the actual script that the doctor writes, and sell that script to other people. And that's kind of curbed a little bit in recent days because doctors are going a lot more in technology and doing a lot more call-ins and computer-type things. For example, when I went to the doctor earlier this week and they prescribed me this blood pressure medicine, they didn't give me a prescription like you used to, like they'd write it on a pad and hand it to you until you take it to the pharmacy.
Which no one could ever read.
Right, because you can't read it anyway, it's in Latin. But they, instead of doing that, they do it by computer.
Right.
They do the prescription to the pharmacy of your choice, and it goes there, and then you just go pick it up. And so that cuts down a lot on those type of sales and different things. But that puts you back into going and picking up a prescription and actually selling the pills to somebody else. So there's always ways around things. But I would think the pill usage and those type of things is just a combination of all that.
Is heroin, is that one of the drugs that had kind of disappeared from our area for a while and then kind of made a comeback?
It had. And the thing about drugs is, and I learned this when I worked the drug task force, that most of your illicit drugs operate on basically a 20-year cycle. And what happens is that, like, if methamphetamine was real big in the 90s, and early 2000s, and so it kind of rose to a peak and to a pinnacle, and then it started dying off, and then you started seeing things like pills come involved and heroin and all these type of things now. So meth is on the decline. If it sticks to the trends as normal, you'll see meth rise back up in about 2020, 2025, somewhere along in there. Okay. You'll start seeing that meth use rise back up, and heroin will peak out sometime in the next few years, and then it'll be on a decline as meth's rising. So you kind of see those roller coaster type cycles in drug use, and it has a combination, not just the two major drugs, but also things like cocaine, crack, heroin, LSD, a lot of these different things. Even pill uses tend to follow those trends. So historically, over the years, you see them moving in 20 to 25 year cycles.
All right. someone who may want to try to recognize heroin use, what is that something that you shoot up in your veins, or
For the most part, that's the way most people use it. They melt it down and shoot it up.
I watch all these TV shows, but I never know what they're doing.
Well, the problem is too is that anytime you have needle usage, you may or may not see the track marks on the forearms like you see on TV or in the movies. Most of the time you will. Most users do that. However, when people are in the beginning stages of drug use, whether it's methamphetamine or heroin or melting down pills and shooting them up or whatever, when they're in those beginning stages of using needles, a lot of times they are still working. They're still trying to hold down jobs and provide for families and all those kind of things. And so they don't want those track marks on the arms, so they find other ways of injecting themselves.
Right.
We've seen over the years people injecting themselves under their fingernails or between the webs of their fingers or between their toes. Or we've even recently discovered through interviews people who are injecting themselves through their anus or other places,
Wow.
that you wouldn't readily see track marks and things. And so you won't always see the track marks on the arm, even if they are using needles. And I could not imagine being addicted in such a way where I'd stick a needle under my fingernail.
No.
but
I cringed when you said that. You saw my face.
Right. But it does happen, and people do that because they don't want others to see those track marks. So, one of the things with that is seeing, the fingernails bruised looking like it's been mashed or actually falling off, their fingernails falling off and things of that nature. And between the webs of the fingers, infections and different things there that can occur from that. So streak marks on the hands and those kind of things. So there's just a lot of different ways you can recognize that, but there's no one foolproof way that says this is definitely what to look for. There's just a lot of things to look for. The thing I tell people all the time about any kind of drug use, whether it's heroin or methamphetamine or pills or whatever it may be, the main thing to look for is just basically behavior changes. Is if you have people that are outgoing, people that are enthusiastic, people that are friendly, social, and then all of a sudden that changes to where they only have a select few friends, they're not interactive with other people, they're becoming recluse, their personalities have changed. Those are things to look for. And it could be right the opposite. It could be people who are normally recluse and people who normally don't have a lot of friends and people who normally don't get out much, but now they're going out every day and now they're having a lot of friends. And now that, that all of a sudden they didn't have any friends before, but now there's 25 people showing up at the house,
Right.
It could be an opposite. But basically what I'm saying is just looking for behavior changes, looking for drastic changes in people's lives and behavior. And then it goes even further into if a person, maybe their entire life they've been a worker, they like to hold down jobs and they have a career and those type of things, but now they're just willing to walk away from it and just give it up and don't really care about that stuff anymore. That those are all signs of behavioral changes and personal changes in somebody's lives. Family, their kids may be their life, their spouse might be their life, but now all of a sudden they're fighting a lot and kids are changing and all these different things and the person don't really seem to care, When you see those major behavioral changes like that, those are all signs that there's a bigger, deeper problem there that you might want to look for.
Families who may be going through this and want help, is there places locally that offer help to bring situations back to normal?
One of the places I suggest is going through things like Appalachian Counseling, those type of resource centers, even through the hospital and different places. You can call and ask for help or say, I'm seeing these things, what can you do? So a lot of these places may have brochures, they may have different things or advice, or it can put you in contact with drug rehabilitation centers and different things that may help you understand things a little bit better. But I would start with the counseling aspect. I would start with talking to some certified counselors about what you're seeing and getting some advice from them.
All right. Well, Sheriff, I see our time has come and gone. Anything you wanted to mention before we close out?
No, I just thank everybody for all your support, all that's going on out there. Everywhere I go, and it's humbling to me. It really is. But it seems like everywhere I go and people that I run into, people are saying good things about the sheriff's office and good things about what they're seeing out there. And so it's just a testament, not just to me, but to the hardworking men and women that I have down there and the good job that they do each and every day. And we realize the fact of there's always going to be people that's going to complain. There's always going to be people who are going to disagree and be against you for whatever reason. But the vast majority of the people we talk to are nothing but supportive and enthusiastic about what we're doing at the sheriff's office. And it was heartwarming today to even talk to people like in Towns County and to different places and say, introduce myself as the sheriff of Cherokee County, and they say, "Oh yeah, we've heard about you. We heard about all the good stuff you're doing up there." So
That's good.
So when your reputation's out there like that, that's a good thing, and it makes me proud, and makes me humbled to hear people say stuff like that.
All right. Well, you gentlemen have a nice, safe trip over the hill to Franklin.
Thank you.
And we will talk to you same time, same place next week.
Thank you. See you,
All
Tim.
right. Have a good day. WKRK 105.5 FM, 1320 AM, cable TV channel 25, worldwide at country.am.